So you may think this is a little weird, but we had a episode that we recorded
many moons ago.
Yeah. Way back in.
All right. So, well, first of all, if you're looking to see us on video, I apologize. You should have a lot better things to look at. And Bob just disappeared. So he's not even going to be on video as you're seeing this. But we've changed our format. When we recorded this episode, we weren't doing the recordings. So we just want to acknowledge that if you're here to see the video, we have no video. This is all just going to be blank. This is going to be the only time that you actually see us. But here's the background to this. So Hamden, Connecticut had a bus fire, an EV bus fire that they did a phenomenal job. Like, this was back when we were just starting to play around with the idea of let it burn, and they let it burn. Sorry, not to give away the podcast. But so we recorded the episode, and if you've ever recorded anything with us, you know that we like to make sure that everybody that has some skin in the game, sort of say, approves of the podcast. So sometimes we record things and they get shot down. Well, this one got shot down because it became a criminal investigation, and the Connecticut police asked us to not put anything out. So we always oblige when somebody has a request, and we ice this. Well, about a week ago, we get an email from the gentleman, and he goes, "Hey, they just opened, they just closed the case, and you are free to push this out." So we don't have any video of it. It is strictly an audio only, but this is one of the first EV bus instances in the United States, and it's an interesting listen.
Enjoy. Hey everybody, I'm Bobby Salveson.
And I'm Michael Monaco, and together we are the Hazmat Guys, connecting the hazmat community near and far with knowledge, insight, and real-world examples in an effort to make your job just a little bit easier and safer.
Now let's take a minute to hear from today's sponsors. Hey Mike, pop quiz. What is the standard go-to method for emergency decon?
That's pretty easy. Wet decon, right?
Well, you're not the only one that may be thinking that, but it's actually dry decon.
No. How many times have I heard dilution is the solution to pollution?
It's actually too many, and that's the issue. Makes sense if you think about it. Without the use of water, we don't need to spend extra time setting up traditional showers or pools, and there's no wastewater afterwards. And you're not going to freeze anybody to death if it's below 60 degrees.
Check out firstlinetech.com/dry decon. Firstline Technology has a whole webpage dedicated to the methodology and links to plenty of dry decon resources. See for yourself why dry decon with FiberTech should be your go-to immediate decon solution.
It's time to rethink your level A protection. Multi-threat suits made of lightweight Gore Chempack ultra barrier fabric are part of the most functional non-encapsulated level A ensembles that bring an essential modernization to hazmat PPE. Certified NFPA 1994 Class 1 suits with Gore Chempack ultra barrier fabric offer unencumbered movement, increased range of motion, improved peripheral visibility, excellent dexterity, and reduced heat stress so you can stay engaged longer. You can learn more at GoretexProfessional.com. Let's get to the show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to an explosive episode of the Hazmat Guys podcast, episode 354. We're going to be cruising with a bus incident up in one of the New England states. But first, some words from Bob.
Yeah, well, actually, I just got word that Massachusetts, we might be picking up another big class that's up there because the main provider of it just bailed. He just emailed. Well, he actually called me about an hour ago, and he's all frazzled in the head. But whatever. Yes. We'll as that firms up, we'll give you more information about that. But today is August 23rd, and this Thursday we're having our monthly happy hour where you can just sit down and rap with us about anything you want, non-recorded. This will be every fourth Thursday of the month, 1900 hours Eastern Standard Time. So this Thursday, August 25th, will be it. And you can find it at thehazmatguys.com/happy. And I think Massachusetts is the next one to go off as far as a conference.
Yes.
Which is September 20th, if memory serves. So a lot of moving parts here. Finishing up the year strong.
Well, speaking of moving parts, we shall
Yes.
introduce our guest.
Yes.
We have somebody to talk to us about a bus explosion incident. So without further ado, why don't you say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Peter Lynch. I'm a lieutenant in the Hamden, Connecticut Fire Department. I've been a member there for 11 years. Prior to that, I served the city of New London for 3 years as a career fireman. I'm currently assigned to Squad 1. I'm a hazardous materials technician. I have been since 2015, and I serve as a member on the New Haven area special hazards team as a hazardous materials technician. The Hamden Fire Department is a 100-member job. 5 engine companies, 1 truck, 2 paramedic units, and a battalion chief. Respond to 10,000 incidents a year. We, as a department, operate as an operational level within the regional framework, but we do have members like myself who are deployable as technicians.
That's great.
Very nice.
That's a decent sized department. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's.
I like it.
So what do you guys get hazmat wise on a semi-regular basis? Like, what would you say your bread and butter runs are for your area?
So bread and butter within our own community is obviously our smells and bells stuff. We have a lot of urban infrastructure, so our natural gas calls, things like that. We do have some metal plating facilities within our community. And we do have freight rail that passes through Hamden as well, actually very close to where the incident occurred. But in our surrounding communities that we do respond to, like I did on St. Patrick's Day, we had a polymerization reaction over at a chemical plant over in Wallingford, Connecticut. And so we do have a lot of manufacturing like that goes on in that area.
What the main reason, and you know, we get a lot of emails, we get a lot of communications and stuff about interesting operations, incidents, whatever. But this one kind of piqued our interest because as far as, and again, I talked to you about this yesterday, I believe it was, or 2 days ago. I don't remember. Yep. But was that it was the only one recorded in the United States. So, yeah, I do have a little bit of information about that. So obviously, I as you'd imagine, I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole with this since it happened. So to the best of my knowledge, prior to our incident, there had been only 18 of these recorded in the entire world. And battery-powered EV buses are very new to the United States. In Connecticut, we've only had them about a year for public transit. And to the best of my knowledge and to the best of the knowledge of the NTSB investigator that I dealt with, this was the only one that had occurred in the United States. That's crazy.
So the first of many, I'm sure, which is why you're on the show to talk to us about what happened and what you guys did and the lessons learned and all that happy stuff.
What do you think we should kind of pop up a couple of pictures now? Again, if you're not a specialist or a technician, you are not seeing this, which again alludes you to bring, go and purchase your thing, you tightwad. But some pictures that we were lucky enough to share. There it is. So now, is it the front or is it the back?
So that's actually the rear of the bus. It's the rear battery bank. So this picture and a few others I took. So this incident, as we get into it, occurred in kind of in 2 parts. So I was the first responding company officer for the initial, when the thermal runaway began. And this is actually after I'd been relieved. They had told the officer who was relieving me that this had happened. And literally without fail, after I'd taken my stuff off the rig, it came in as a bus fire at the same bus depot we were at. And it was obviously this one. So I had taken, I was going out for a bicycle ride that morning. So I rode down by the bus depot and got some pictures on my non-e-bike. And that'll be a whole other conversation about the lithium ion batteries. But I pedaled my way down there.
I'm looking at this thing. Okay, so just to, for those of you who can't see, it in the typical configuration where on a regular bus, on the top of it, it's got those, the gas cylinders where we now think of gas cylinders to be in like that covered, I don't know what the hell you call it, a compartment or whatever like that. Is that where the batteries are, or are they in the back where the engine used to be?
So, as I said, until about July 24th, I didn't know a whole lot about these. So, where we initially had the incident occur is in the rear where you saw there. There's a stacked battery pack back there, but there's additional battery cells on the roof, which I was actually unaware of until after the incident.
Now, looking at the picture, when you say the roof, because I do see some flames up on the roof. Are you talking literally on the roof? Or are you talking? It almost looks like there's a second compartment.
Yes.
There's a separate compartment with additional battery cells on the roof.
Okay.
Yep.
And it runs the whole length of the bus?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. I haven't been able to find any real technical specs on this because the company, I'm sorry, I have it written down over here, the New Flyer XE40, they had actually taken down a lot of the technical specs after this happened. So.
Okay, so how did this came over as a bus fire? Is this the bus fire that we had was the explosion? Like it literally almost popped?
So if you don't mind,
yeah.
I could actually go into what we had initially, because like I said, this kind of evolved over a couple hours. So I was working an overtime detail on a night shift on Engine 3, which is first due to the transit depot. So we received at 3:44 in the morning, we received an assignment for Engine 3, Truck 1, Engine 2, Squad 1, Rescue 2, and Car 3 for a reported electric bus on fire inside the bus depot. We had about a 5-minute response time. I arrived to find a large 1-story commercial building, non-combustible. It's a bus depot. It's like a couple 100,000 square feet. It's pretty massive.
Yeah.
And it had, we entered through the Bravo side, which is where the buses normally go in and out of for the repair facility. They have glass doors. I did notice a light haze. I gave that on my size up. Myself and the truck under the command of Captain Dowling made entry into the building. We made contact with staff who stated that there was an electric bus inside. I don't know if these individuals were maintenance workers. I think it was just their overnight skeleton crew. And then all of a sudden they heard some popping and hissing coming from the bus. And they noticed some white smoke wisping out of the rear compartment where we found the battery. So there was no active fire, and there was no active popping or hissing, but there was definitely white haze coming from it, like very faintly. And on the battery cell, like on the case of it, there was very clear singe marks where the battery is shorted out. The gentleman there had told us that the bus had been brought in for service 3 days prior and had been sitting idle, not on charge. So we went through.
Not on charge, meaning it was actively charging?
No, it was not on charge. It was sitting idle.
Oh, not on charge. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it was just there for some sort of battery issue. The gentleman didn't know what it was. So went through. Obviously, we got it as a potential fire inside of a building. So we had all our gear with us. I had my usual complement of equipment, including my thermal imager and my officer's tool. I went through. I did notice a significantly higher heat signature on the bottom battery in the center. I got 118 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 50 Celsius on the outside of the battery cell.
How are you at this point right now? Sorry to interrupt, but how are you?
Yeah,
how are you viewing the cells? Right, you get to the bus. Are you getting on the bus? Is the compartment open? You're saying that you had. What's up?
The compartment was open. Yes,
the compartment was open. Okay, so you're able to, without having to force entry into the bus, you were able to directly make contact with the battery case. That
is correct.
Okay.
Yep. So, like I said, I very clearly saw that there was singeing on it. Where it evidently shorted out. So on the thermal imager on the bottom battery, I got 118 degrees Fahrenheit on it. Like I said, about 50 degrees Celsius. I went through the rest of the bus. I scanned it. I got a ambient temps of about 80 degrees. We actually were in the middle of a heat wave, as I'm sure you guys are, being from the city. Our climates are not super different. So we're in the middle of a heat wave at this time. So one of the takeaways that I didn't know at the time is I did not scan the roof of the vehicle because I did not know there was battery cells up there. That's something that I learned after. And that's why when you guys asked me about it, I knew. So at that point, we had Battalion Chief Brian Tierney in command, who was also a hazardous materials technician. He ordered myself and Captain Dowling to coordinate with the with the workers to get the bus outside of the building. Because like I said, while it wasn't actively on fire, to be honest with you, none of us knew a ton about this. We just knew that if there was some sort of potential issue for fire, we didn't want it inside the building. So we worked with the crews to bring it outside using their normal procedures. They have like a big push vehicle, like a Freightliner. They brought it outside where you guys see it now on fire, away from all the exposures, which ended up being a good thing. So we cleared the incident. We had 2 individuals also get transported for smoke inhalation. 2 of the workers, they didn't seem very seriously sick, but they did go down to the hospital. So when I got back to the firehouse, I was, I'm somebody who prides myself on trying to know as much about the job as I do. And I didn't really know anything about battery powered EVs until this point. So I went on kind of a deep dive online, and particularly, regarding mass transit, and there was nothing. Like when I talk about there was nothing, there was nothing from the United States. So I reached out, as I told Bobby yesterday, I reached out to some friends from New York and Boston and Baltimore. I'm like, hey, you guys have mass transit systems. You guys know anything? And like New York knew a little bit of stuff. The other ones were like, we don't really know a lot either. So I did find 2 articles that kind of piqued my interest. One of them was from Sustainable Must magazine from February 2022. That magazine is out of Italy. The other one is there's another group that I thought was pretty beneficial, EV Fire Safe, and they're out of Australia. And they were some of the ones who had some of the statistics on these bus fires. So it kind of got me thinking a little bit. I'm sure as we're going to get onto later in the show, talking about the issues of fighting fires in lithium-ion batteries, they had essentially both of those publications recommended like, hey, water application is going to have limited effectiveness. It's not going to hurt anybody. But we basically don't have the ability to bring enough water to bear to put one of these things out, which I'll get into later, obviously, in conjunction with you guys. But essentially what I had gathered from this is the value of applying water to like a transit vehicle would have been if we had exposure issues or if we had the, potential to affect rescues to kind of temporarily cool the environment. But the amount of kilowatt hour lithium ion battery on board these vehicles will make extinguishment extremely difficult, which we found out. So 7:30 in the morning, I get
you're making my heart happy right now with what you just said.
Hey, listeners, the Hazmat Guys have some great news for you and your organization. We are really stepping up our brand of in-person training in addition to the great content you get on demand. Now, we know what you're thinking, but this is already incredibly great stuff, and how could it possibly get better? All I can say is wait until we're in front of you. When we gather the best of the best from across this planet and even beyond, and assemble an instructional cadre that is seriously second to none. And now we have a ton of ways to help you, your team, or your organization get to a level that makes everybody proud. From subscriptions, on-demand, hybrid methods to full in-person goodness. You can contact me, Bob, at thehazmatguys.com to schedule a call and find a solution that works for you. And every participant of an in-person class gets a free 1-year premium subscription, which sounds pretty good. So contact me at bob@thehazmatguys.com and get some more information.
That at some point we realized that we are not having any actual effect by putting water on these batteries.
Oh yeah, no, we can. I know Bobby and I talked about this on the phone a little bit yesterday about theory versus practicality, and and obviously, so eventually, the publications have said that it is safe to apply water to these fires because it is a DC current. Like there's no risk to firefighters by doing that. But obviously, as we're going to talk about with like the chemical decomposition of this, it's basically a fruitless effort. So anyways, the individuals, the guys relieved me. They went to the fire. And obviously we saw at that point it was the rear compartment. You guys had that picture up before.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up right now.
So yeah, there we go. So actually, that's the only one I kind of got a picture of it. So have you guys heard of the phenomena of jet fire? of where you get these batteries, particularly when they're in larger cells, because they have the ability to vent the dangerous gases in them.
Yeah, certain weak points.
Yeah, they'll get fire blown out under pressure. It was like a blowtorch coming off this thing. It was pretty wild. I wish I had actually gotten a video of it. Like I said, at this point, I wasn't on duty. But, they had attempted to apply some water to it, rapidly figured out that it wasn't having any effect. And the incident commander at that point had made the determination that they dammed and diked all the storm drains, because the only real problem we had with exposures on this bus depot is on the Quinnipiac River, so there's wetlands right there. So they made sure they took efforts to dam and dike all the storm drains and stuff like that. And at that point, they made the determination to just let it burn down to the hulk. That I think I gave you guys a picture of what it eventually burned down to. It's pretty wild. Yep, there you go.
Wow. There is nothing but metal left.
Yeah. Good stop.
You know what is we were joking around with the guys. We're like, hey, you know what? Just imagine if we didn't move this bus outside, this would be a way bigger news story.
Yeah.
Like just for everybody to understand, like there is the truss-like skeleton of there isn't a single piece of combustible material left on this bus. It is burned flat to the ground.
It's like looking at a Terminator skeleton.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. But like, yeah, you can see up on the top, it's almost like, what it kind of looks like? One of those double-decker buses where there is seating on the top, and that apparently is where the batteries are nestled into, along with that fiberglass cowl that goes on top. And I guess that feeds the whole back of the bus. You know what? This is like one of those things where I'm hearing reports of who the hell was it? An electric fire truck. There's one coming to
LA City got one, I think.
LA. That's who it was. It was LA. LA. I was just talking to somebody from LA not too long ago, and they said, we're getting the first one. I said, yeah, let me know how that works out for you, because I'm interested in that. But these, garbage trucks, buses, school buses, all these things are going EV, and I think this is going to be a lot more prevalent as it comes on.
I have a random question that maybe you've come across in your research. You guys got there, it was inside, and quite often the biggest pushback I get when I say let it burn is like, well, what about the exposures? I'm like, well, then we got to be able to move the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Is there anything that you've come across? Like, these batteries were starting thermal runaway. You were getting a heat signature. You weren't getting anything that was hot. At that moment in time, could somebody have gotten on the bus, PPE bunker gear, and driven it to a safer location? In the event that, somebody doesn't have a bus wrecker, 3 feet, on site that's able to do that, is there anything that prevents the vehicle from still operating?
If you look very carefully at this picture, I am in the driver's seat of there.
Yes.
So my understanding is I don't believe so, because at that point, I would say very confidently that we had an electrical short. I don't know of what origin. Obviously, Connecticut State Police are involved, NTSB is involved. I think this is the third or fourth interview I've had to give on this thing. This is the only fun one, though. I don't believe it was drivable. That it's not something we attempted. Just like I said, because we had the resources available to us, so it wasn't really something that we would even attempt. And I don't think it would have functioned properly, because in just kind of the little reading that I've had, that you still do have what's called stranded energy in the battery cells. So the other batteries still did have electricity in them. I just don't know that the system would have functioned properly, because that short, from my understanding of it, and I'm sure there's some individuals listening to this podcast that have a better understanding of these vehicles, that caused an issue with the internal cooling system. And I don't imagine that would have allowed it to function. So actually, it was a funny thing, like cell phones. I just learned in all of this that cell phones have super reliable systems. They've been using lithium ion forever. But like the other day, it was super hot out. I had my phone in my truck while I was out for a bike ride. I went to go use it and it wouldn't turn on. That's because the phone's internal temperature management system knew that it wasn't a safe temperature for the battery to operate at and wouldn't let me use it till it cooled. So because this kind of overrode that system, I imagine we wouldn't be able to try to use it.
And that's the biggest difference that we see in, these batteries igniting is the battery management system. Cheaper chargers. I'm not saying bus chargers. I'm saying, smaller type vehicles like scooters and things like that. You get multiple batteries. You're buying cheap chargers. They don't have the ability to monitor the battery like the expensive chargers do, and they are able to. I mean, we see it constantly every day in where we are. They just, they just light up and they keep charging because the system has no idea something's going on.
Yeah, that's basically, my, what I had gotten out of this is, because I obviously, like I said, I went on a deep dive about lithium ion batteries, how they even work. And, the fact, and I know you guys talked about this on a show maybe a few months ago, about, why they're beneficial, because they have high energy density in relation to overall weight. They have their ability to keep it charged. They're really awesome until they're not, because there is a lot of energy moving through them, and we do have some exothermic reactions going on as they function. And, basically you could have issues with the temperature management systems through shorts. Like I said, I'm not a fire marshal. I'm not an investigator, would be my bet, because I saw that the system was very clearly had scorch marks from a short through some sort of insult to the battery, whether that be in a motor vehicle accident, whether it be a puncture, and that allows the different components of the battery cell to mix, or direct exposure to fire, which I'm sure you guys, like I said, you guys have had some fires that have been caused by these in e-bikes and scooters. And conversely, I imagine you guys have some fires that have been made worse because you had a fire in a building where one of these was present.
Have you come across any information about being able to, for first responders to be able to remove the battery going into thermal runaway and propagation before it gets to the other cells, or there's nothing out there about us pulling a battery?
So about pulling a battery, no. So there's so the majority of the information that I was able to find is on passenger vehicles. And a little plug, don't give too many props to alphabet agencies, but the NTSB has a really good training report called Safety Risk to Emergency Responders from LI Battery Fires and EVs. Super good information, was done in conjunction with NFPA. I got a lot of really good information out of it. So what I did learn about was, which wouldn't have really helped us, is there's things in a lot of the passenger vehicles called cut loops. And that allows us to take and cut out the potential from the electricity to go from the battery cells out to the rest of the vehicle. So like if we were working an extrication or something,
right?
So we could de-energize it that way, or we de-energize the rest of the car. The issue is that we still have all that stranded energy in the batteries. We need technicians from the factories to actually discharge these batteries for us. The other problem is that these cut loops aren't always in intuitive locations. And if we're going to a severe motor vehicle accident, they might not be in a position that we can readily access them.
Right.
This is good stuff. And you know what? I think this is going to, I hate to say it, but as you're talking, I'm looking at sustainable buses. What is this sustainable bus?
Oh, it was, hang on, what was it?
Sustainable Bus
magazine.
Yeah, I'm reading through their 4 online issues, and I gotta say, I'm gonna subscribe.
Yeah, no. All kidding aside, I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good.
It's good stuff.
But that's where I found out. I don't think it was Sustainable Bus, but EV FireSafe had multiple case studies throughout the world where they were talking about water application. And so, if you guys don't mind, I actually have some stuff about that. So, according to NTSB, so the normal battery cells that we might see in a vehicle like a Tesla would be a 60 to 100 kilowatt battery cell, which is pretty significant. According to the NFPA, which the NTSB quoted in their report, that takes approximately 2,600 gallons of water applied rapidly to cool enough to extinguish it. The issue with that is, and I know Bobby and I talked about this on the phone yesterday, where, practicality versus theory on this is, it's all well and good to say that you could apply 2,600 gallons of water rapidly. As you guys see on this bus right now, those batteries are shielded.
Yes.
On a motor vehicle accident, if you go to a motor vehicle accident, and this came up with some of the case studies because they talked about different incidents they had throughout the country with passenger cars, is these batteries were shielded, so they couldn't get water where they needed to get it. So, as I said, this bus is the the bus that caught fire was the New Flyer Industries XC40. They're out of Canada. We had in our public transit system in Connecticut, we had 12 of them until about a month ago. They've all been taken off the road. So I wasn't able to get the specific information, but I was able to find through there's actually public transit wikis, which is super weird. But I guess there's something for everybody. So this model year either has a 350, 440, or 525 kilowatt battery cell. So
Wow.
You're talking about that at on the far ends of the extremes, you could talk about that this might have a battery cell that's 9 times as big as a Tesla. So you're talking about trying to rapidly apply 30,000 gallons of water, and we just don't have the ability to do that. And now, when we're applying that much water, there's all kinds of toxic chemicals coming off this batteries. It's releasing ethanes, ethylenes, hydrogens being released. There's all kinds of other different water reactive stuff going on that we're now creating toxic fumes. We're now creating toxic runoff. So there's not a tremendous amount of benefit to applying water. Like I said, other than in the instance of we get the same bus, a car plows into the back of it. It causes thermal runaway. It's on fire. We got to start making grabs off the bus. Absolutely put water on it.
Yes.
Because it's going to cool it sufficiently, allow us to effect rescues and, protect victims. But we're not going to put this thing out. We can delay the inevitable.
I thought this is great. You know what? This is going to be a good topic for guys to throw up on, on the chalkboard at the firehouse. Talk about it. Get into these 2 magazines, which I'm going to add into the show notes here. But I think this is good just to get the word out. And I thank you, Pete. It was good to have you on.
Absolutely.
Where do they find you? If you so choose, where do you want them to find you, or send you emails if they want to contact you?
So it is, as long as they're related to this, as long as they're related to this bus incident, they can send them to my official department email. That would be P as in the first letter of my name, Lynch, LYNCH @hamden.com. And I'm also I'm on Facebook and as well as Pete Lynch. I live in Salem, Connecticut. So if anybody wants to message me there about these, that would be fine as well.
Excellent, man.
Very
good to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on, guys.
Thanks for coming over.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys. You can find us at Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. And don't be afraid to use that like or follow button. Or
you can sign up for even more content from us at thehazmatguys.com. Here, you can subscribe so that we can connect you to even more great stuff. Your support is going to help us improve and build this awesome community even more.
Yeah, and if you want to get to the next level, you won't want to miss our premium content. Our specialist level provides you with access to our entire catalog of shows, which is now over 300, an exclusive Facebook group, premium video with no ads, and so much more. Also, check the Hazmat Guys University link on our website.
And don't forget, we are always interested in hearing about incidences or calls that you have experienced. We may bring you on the show to share that story. Reach us at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
And remember, folks, don't just get on the job, get into the job.